In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve the ALEKS problem called using solubility to calculate solute mass or solution volume. There are two different versions of this problem, and I am going to show you how to solve both versions. We're going to be starting with the harder version of the two. So first of all, this problem has a few numbers. It is providing us with a solubility, which is going to have some sort of mass over volume unit. My solubility has grams per milliliter. I have seen versions of this problem where the solubility is grams per liter, and there might be other mass to volume units as well. The problem is going to give you a temperature. You can just go right ahead and ignore that because you won't be using that number to solve the problem. And then the problem is also going to give you either a mass or a volume. So this version of the problem, I have been given a mass, and I am being asked to calculate a volume. The other version of the problem is asking you to calculate a mass. Now, ALEKS makes it look like there are more than two versions of the problem because sometimes it'll say things like calculate the maximum volume or calculate the maximum mass. Don't even worry about that. There are only two versions of the problem. You're either being asked to calculate a volume or calculate a mass. And it doesn't matter if it includes that word maximum in there or not. Don't even worry about it. Okay, so these are the two numbers that we're working with. Everybody's going to get this number, and then you are either going to have a mass over here or a volume. The first thing that you need to do is check to make sure that the units are consistent. So for example, I have got milligrams of my mass, and then in my solubility, my units are grams, which is inconsistent. And I have noticed that every single version of the problem that I've looked at, we do have this inconsistency with the units. So for example, I'm looking on my computer at one right now that is providing a volume in units of liters, and then that's going to be inconsistent with this milliliters in the solubility. So step number one is going to be to take this number that has been provided to us and do a unit conversion on it so that it matches the units of our solubility. I am going to refer to this as, sometimes I'm going to be referring to this solubility as our conversion factor, because that's what it is. Our solubility is our conversion factor in this problem. So I'm going to start by taking my 320 milligrams of this solvent X, and I want to convert that into units of grams so that its units are consistent with my solubility. And that's going to be 0.320 grams. And then once I get that done, I am going to be able to use this solubility as a conversion factor to convert from mass into volume. So if I want to convert this 0.320 grams into a new unit, I need to put the gram unit down on the bottom of my conversion factor so that my gram units are going to cancel out. And my conversion factor, the solubility, my conversion factor is a relationship between grams and milliliters. So on the top of my conversion factor down here, I want milliliters. And you'll notice that these units are backwards from the units that were provided to us in that solubility conversion factor. The 0.548 is referring to the number of grams in a milliliter. And in our case, we're going to use that conversion factor flip-flopped or inverted. 1 milliliter is 0.548 grams. So in order to get the units in the right order that we want them, we've also got to reverse the positioning of those numbers. 1 milliliter is 0.548 grams, and you can see that that's going to make the gram units cancel. And when we work the math out on this, 0.320 divided by 0.548, that is 0.548. ALEKS wants 3 sig figs, so 0.584. And then also notice that ALEKS is asking you to provide the unit symbol. It's not going to provide the unit symbol for you in this problem. For mine, the unit is milliliters. 0.5, I think I was saying 0.584 milliliters. Okay, now that, like I said, this is actually the harder version of the problem. The other version of the problem is going to be asking you to calculate the mass that is dissolved in some volume, like let's just go with 2 liters. Calculate the mass that is in 2 liters. So that would be version number 2. So the first thing that we would do, if this was the variation of the problem that you were looking at, the first thing that you would do is take a look at the, I'm going to erase this, take a look at the units. The volume unit is in liters, and in our conversion factor, the volume unit is in milliliters. So step number 1 is going to be to take that unit, that volume unit, and then convert it so that it's in the same units as our conversion factor. Milli is the prefix for 10 to the minus 3. So 2 liters is going to be 2,000 milliliters. And then once we get it in the correct unit, then we can use our solubility conversion factor. And in this version of the problem, since we're trying to cancel out the units of milliliters, we want milliliters on the bottom, we want grams on the top. This version of the problem is easier, in my opinion, because the conversion factor is set up in the correct order for this particular version. So that is 0.548 grams per milliliter, and those milliliter units will cancel, and then we get 2,000 times 0.548 is, ooh, what did I just do? 2,000 times 0.548 is 1,096 grams. ALEKS would probably want this to 2 sig figs. So that would be 1.1 times 10 to the 3rd grams. And we want to make sure that you're, again, using or including the unit symbols for this problem.